Thank you for welcoming us to this incredible place. And
I'm glad you like it.
It's just a joy to be able to spend some time with you and talk about music.
Oh,
talk about life.
Thank you.
And in particular, starting with recent life, you were saying before that, you don't even think you've been into this place in recent memory, because I think we all just sort of stopped and took a look around at our surroundings and then sort of figured out where we need to go and not need to go, and in the end it was just like, once quarantine kicked in, we all just decided like, oh, let's just be very calm and try to find our feet. How was it for you?
Well, it gave me a solid bit of time, which is about a year, to finish my book that I started many, many years ago and never really found the time to finish it. So I loved that time. I loved not having to go anywhere, not have to go to events that I'm invited to. I like being with Renata and my husband and my dogs. And so I was very happy. I love not going to doctor's appointments or dentists.
Yeah.
I swear. That's what I've just been doing the last few months. And I was surprised. I was even thinking I had cavities, but I don't have any cavities. So it was really great.
I feel like in many respects, once success really came your way and you sort of started to build a life for yourself that was going in that direction. Like, what do I really want to do versus what people expect me to do?
Yeah.
And I guess to some degree, if you have enough success, the construct of that, you're able to make more decisions of that nature. But at what point did you realize, wow, I actually don't have to do anything that I don't want to do anymore? Just the stuff I want to do.
I think it was at a very young age that I thought I'd like to be the best at singing. First, it was acting. I wanted to be an actress first. I only became a singer because I couldn't get a job as an actress. And I thought I knew I had a good voice from when I was a kid and we used to sing on the stoops in Brooklyn. And I was known for having a good voice and no father, because every other kid had a father.
Right. So
I was unique. And when you have a kind of void in your life and a strange childhood, I wasn't seen. It was like I was pushed around My mother wanted me to be a teacher or work in the school system like my father did. My father was a teacher, but my mother was a bookkeeper in the school system. And she said, you get vacations and paid vacations. I thought, no, I really want to experience happiness. That I don't know. I see people going to dinner with their parents eating in their house. We never sat down at a table at a specific time to have dinner. So I think in the back of my mind, it was always about that. How do you get fulfilled? And that's what I did. I wanted to be the best at whatever I do. So I knew I had a good voice. When I couldn't get a job as an actress, I started to sing, entered a talent contest and won. And that led me to my goal of being an actress. And being in films, as a child, I would sit in my bedroom when I had a bedroom, because I slept in the living room till I was 13. That could make you ambitious.
Yeah.
Like to get a bedroom.
Yeah.
I finally got a bedroom when my brother got married. And I would read movie magazines and eat Breyer's coffee ice cream. That was, to me, the end all and the be all. That was success at that age, But my mother never said, follow your dreams or you could do this. No, she didn't think I could ever succeed at that. So she wanted me to have a yearly paying job.
Yeah, something safe, something secure.
And I think that's why, in a way, I dedicate this book to my mother.
Yeah.
Not only my mother, but the father I never knew. Because she incentivized me to do the opposite of what she thought I should do. Do you see what I mean? It's like I was part of Arista, which I found out that's the honor society at the high school I went to.
Yeah.
By the way, Clive Davis named his company
That's right.
Aristar after that. I guess he was a member of it before me. But they invited I said, I want to be an actress. My book reports were on Stanislavski, And I guess it was escaping reality in a way to be an actress,
I think all the arts are to some degree. I think a lot of what drives the artistic spirit is escapism. The idea also of recognizing something deep inside that didn't sit right with you as a child, a fracture of some description,
right.
and trying to find a way to understand it is what leads you into that expression, that desire to express yourself.
Right. That's why I think it's so important for kids to have music and art
Yes.
in their programs, which they've taken out.
Yeah, it drives me crazy that, when we get into this time where costs need to be cut, there's this default reaction that the arts get it in the neck. And
Well, it's because so many displaced kids and unhappy kids, lacking a parent or whatever, being poor, they have no way to express themselves. So they, belong to gangs, or they're so angry at life. Art would have given them some form of expression, a way to let go, release themselves,
I walk around this beautiful home and I think it's just full of fulfillment. It just feels like you have filled it full of perhaps the things that you pined for when you were sleeping on the couch when you were 11, 10. Is that fair to say that it's all led to...
Yeah, since I was 8. You're absolutely right. Actually, another title for my book, it's not going to be named this, but it's the sub-story of my life, is my search for beauty.
Oh, it's amazing, though.
So everything you're looking at, like that tassel, it's on the bottom of that chair.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful to me. I bought this painting of this woman.
I was going to ask.
I bought that before I built this house because of, you see the blue table?
Yeah.
I said, that's what the color of the living room, screening room should be.
And it is.
So, once I get a tip, then I can fulfill the dream of it. You know what I mean? The fabric for the walls, the color of the paint, and the color of beautiful wood.
You're very aesthetically
oriented,
aren't you? And it's so funny to me because we are all in love with the charisma and the voice and the talent. But it feels to me like, even in the short time we've been talking, that you're more focused on the aesthetic.
That's funny.
It's like a Trojan horse. Like, we're all just going, wow, the voice. And you're like, I'm too busy trying to figure out what the fabric's going to be on this couch.
Right.
Is that fair?
Totally. It's totally right. I walked out of my door. I haven't been out of the house where I paid attention to it, I wanted to be in a good mood, but I noticed my orchids were not in bloom.
Right.
And that disturbs me. I said, you mean if I don't walk out that door, nobody's going to notice these orchids are dead? As a matter of fact, when I went to my doctor's, not seeing him, for my yearly physical for almost 2 years, I saw his orchids were dead on his desk. I immediately sent him a fresh orchid if he would just get rid of the dead ones. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like life.
Yeah. And walking into a room and not taking anything for granted.
Yeah.
I feel like we've all been focused on the wrong things. Like, we focus on the fact you don't play live and you don't do all these things that people would expect of someone in your situation.
Yeah.
But it seems to me you're just focused on other things. Like...
Oh, yeah. Well, I turned down directing a movie because I had to finish this house. And it took 5 years. Also, there was another reason. The person wouldn't let me change the script. I can't go on to a project and not have a chance to bring it to full fruition.
Yeah.
And I like doing that. I like doing private things, not public things. I can get fulfillment out of designing a house and then furnishing it. And it took 5 years to go into all that detail.
Oh, it's worth it. It's so beautiful. But I think about, that's a great statement. I like to do private things.
Yeah.
And it really puts a ribbon on a lot of those expectations over the years.
Yeah.
I wonder at what point you realized, because you were doing very public things at the beginning of your career, and it went very fast,
Yeah.
Grammys, Academy Awards, all very
Yeah.
quick. At what point you were
But
able...
they satisfied me.
Then.
In other words, I didn't need to go on.
Right.
It's like even now, it's like the thought of, well, I couldn't get the movies I wanted made now. I don't know how much that has to do with ageism or what, but I was very fortunate that the 3 movies I directed, I had complete control over. You know, when I was making Star is Born and I had final cut, in other words, every frame of that film was something I wanted to say or do, I was attacked for being in control. You know, so I did an interview. I remember the first question of that interview, 1977, I guess it was. So you want to be in control? You're a control freak? And I thought, I want to be in control of what I can control.
Yeah.
I can't control life in general. I can control my work.
But to even have to defend your work over a statement like that,
Yeah.
I feel at least now, a statement of that nature for the most part feels archaic. And because there are things changing for the better and a long way to go. Back then, it just must have been a constant fight.
Yeah, a constant fight. And when I redid it, I added a scene that I had cut out last year or the year before the quarantine in Star is Born that I stupidly cut out, and I put it back in and changed the ending because I never got around to editing it like a rock and roll kind of thing. And actually, the people liked it when we showed the film in preview, so I left it. But we had shot things that you could cut. And so I thought it would be fun to do that, right? When I was re-putting the music back in, because it was the end of the film, and there's a chyron, I forgot to put one of the songs I wrote in there. I was so afraid of being attacked, you know, that I gave away my producer credit. Oh. Yeah, I put myself as something else in the crawl. I thought, what the hell? That's why it was so hard to do things and be attacked for them. Do you know what I mean? In terms of Yentl, let's say, right? Because I was producing and directing and writing and acting in it, I was attacked. How do you dare do all those jobs? I was like, because when I wanted to fulfill my vision of the movie. Well, you can't fulfill a vision. You really can't unless you have control of the, you know, what's going to be on that celluloid. How do you edit something that you didn't want filmed or something? It was such an incredible experience. And in Europe, it was so fabulous. It wasn't America. Europe says, oh, wait a minute. You're a first-time director, but, you know, we're used to women in power. We're used to Margaret Thatcher being the prime minister at that time. We're used to having a queen. So they were so wonderful. You know, it's like my amazing camera operator. And the English crew, you know, they were so kind to me. And they wrote a letter to the press because they were defending me, you know, that I was getting bad press or something in those tabloidy papers. And they wrote this letter that talks about she never raises her voice, you know. She speaks very quietly, brings in tea and pasties not every day, but, you know, I was so grateful to this crew. Nobody printed it, though. None of those papers printed the letter that everyone signed.
What a hell, what a mountain to have to climb just to your point, fulfill some kind of artistic impulse, some desire to tell a story.
To tell a story. That made a point about how hard it was for women to do the things they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Look what's happened. I mean, isn't it great for women now?
Getting better.
Oh, my God. I mean, I started off with, you know, I'm leaving centers at UCLA, and the one I started in 1984, my first contribution to doing something about education. It was at USC. Men and women in society in a changing world. the dynamics. I'm finally getting it at UCLA. Nobody studied it, but now it's changed.
And that was in 84.
That was in 1984.
Yeah.
Because I loved, whenever I made money, I wanted to give it away. I keep some for myself, but do something like my father intended, about education. My next contribution was to the Environmental Defense Fund, because I had read about climate change. So I love to have a purpose that's bigger than myself. It's not about financially making myself richer. It's nothing to do with it.
I think about a song, when you talk about the idea of the correlation between what you receive versus what you're willing to give, and if you get it right, they feed each other. The more that you actually think of others, the more positive energy you get back.
Right.
And I think about a song like Be Aware, which is one of my favorites on this new album, Release Me Too. When I first listened to it, I was shocked that it was 50 years old. I talk about a 50th birthday present to actually finally come out and be heard the way that it probably should have been heard 50 years ago, but be more present today than it even was then. So I kind of got two questions around that song. One is, in many respects, did a song like that, do you think even subconsciously put you on this path of like, okay, I'm 7 or 8 years into my career, maybe even less, and I'm singing a song right now about awareness and about the idea of not just being so self-absorbed and so focused on my own purpose. Do you think of it in that way?
Well, because in the 60s, I was so upset by racial tension. So I know I did a concert about Selma. In other words, all those things, SNCC. I wanted to help the world. I wanted to help our country. I couldn't stand what was going on in the Vietnam War. So that song was written about that. 1972 or something like that. That song.
71.
71?
50 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Seems like yesterday.
Sounds like yesterday.
Isn't that? Well, I had so much fun with my wonderful engineer to work on these songs, in quarantine. So we did it by Zoom.
Yeah.
And so I would just put a robe on, go from my house to grandma's house.
Cup of tea, cup of coffee, whatever you need.
Where I work.
Yeah, and just get down to it.
And we worked that way, and I could really hear what I'd like to do with it. Bringing out little fills that were so fabulous, but you never heard them 50 years ago.
It's so lush, the sound of this record.
I know.
So
the
lush.
marimba, I think they were.
It just floats into your ears when you press play on it and Be Aware begins. It's like it just kind of folds on you.
Oh, good. But I mean, I must have mixed that thing at least 4 times. It's like I kept wanting more and more of those things. My engineer thinks like I do, hears like I do.
Beautiful.
So that I could raise something 1/10 of a dB. In other words, some engineers would say, well, wait, if you want to raise that, you got to raise it 5 dB before you hear it.
Yeah.
I say, no. This is below 1 dB.
But that's the place of feeling. I have a theory about that because I've tried that in studios myself, and it's like no one else is going to hear that. I'm like, but I feel it.
That's right. And you know what? My husband always says to me, I remember what you said once when you were working with the color of the film that I was doing. At the time, I met him during The Mirror Has Two Faces.
Yeah.
And he says, I was standing there while you were doing color with Technicolor, and you said, I can't even tell you, I don't even know how to describe it. I want to feel a little more red.
Yeah.
But it's, since I just did this album, I'm thinking in terms of decibels. But it's 1/10, and maybe we should go 2/10, and then maybe we have to reduce it. But my engineer, Joachim van der Sag, such a delightful person, as well as being so talented, he heard like I did in those little teeny slices.
Yeah. Isn't it great when you find people that aren't maddened by that process, that they actually welcome it?
That think you're difficult.
Yeah, gosh.
No, we had so much fun. It's fun when you can think alike. And you say, oh my God, that color blue, has to be the right thing.
Your last album, Barbra, was in 2018. It was called Walls. It was a direct reflection of what was going on in this country, and it was a powerful album. And I guess the question is, why did you decide to make an album, a follow-up to Release Me 2 as your latest record? Like, what prompted you to do that?
I actually was collecting songs to make a new studio album.
Right.
A song I love, can't wait to sing, by Desmond Child.
Oof, I can't wait to hear it.
Gorgeous song. And a song that Sinatra sang that I can't remember the title of, but it's something I heard on an album a while ago, and I thought, I'd like to record that. But as you know, when you make a record, you have to see people.
Yeah.
So you have to talk to arrangers and producers and musicians. And I can't sing with a mask, obviously. So this was the time to go back into the vault and find things that I haven't released yet.
The idea of making this album and going back, it's the second in the series thus far. I'm hoping there'll be a third or a fourth, but Release Me is now at volume 2.
Yeah.
And I wondered whether going back and listening to songs that in some cases you wouldn't have listened to for a long time, and reacquainting yourself with old performances, whether it kind of struck you emotionally in ways you didn't expect, because it's probably the closest you get to listening to yourself in a way that we listen to you, because you haven't got that immediacy of like, I just recorded this yesterday, I have to finish it.
Well, I realized the second song, isn't it, You Light Up My Life?
That's right, yeah.
I remember recording it in 1973.
Yeah.
But it was like a lousy arrangement. It had no magic. So I never released it. I know I did a good vocal on it, but I let it disappear. So to re-examine it now and add how about my engineer happens to also be a musician.
Right.
So he could play congas on it. He could add a guitar part.
But a lot of these songs recorded from the 60s to the 70s, it's hard to if we're talking aesthetic, it's hard to add something in 2021, 2020 to something that's 40, 50 years old and keep the same feel, the same...
Well, it's even a better feel, You Light Up My Life. I mean, than when I recorded it. It's, and I think it had to do with my own psyche at the time. I don't think I was really happy. And now I'm happy.